Welcome to episode 109 of Charlie India Talk Sports. I'm your host, Charlie India. Guess you figured that out by now. Appreciate you guys watching the show. As you know, it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I've been able to put one of these out. There's a lot going on, so I'm going to tell you, get a little personal here and tell you what's going on so you see how not only we can tie it into sports, but how sports affects our everyday life. And again, I thank you very much for listening. As most of you know, I was in a pretty bad motorcycle accident a couple of months ago, and it's one of those deals where if you've ever had anything like that happen to you, it's thrilling in the moment. You know, you're going through the actions, you're fighting nature, you're surviving, you're doing all this kind of stuff, and it's an adrenaline rush. And I'm not kidding. I mean, the ambulance ride, the emergency room, everybody, you know, all over you, and all this kind of stuff, and you know, you get through that, and you limp home, and you're beat up, and you're hurt, and everything, and people are there, and they're working with you, and talking to you, and helping you out, and all that kind of stuff. But then that stuff kind of goes away, and you're left with the downside of the adrenaline rush, the downside of the incident, the accident, whatever the heck you want to call it. I woke up and I was starting to feel a little bit better. I could move around, and they took my bike away. You know, lost it. It was damaged beyond repair, and they took my bike away. And that kind of was a stab in the heart, and it got me on I guess depression is what you would call it. I mean, it's definitely what you would call it. I got depressed. And I don't mean just like boohoo, sad as me, depressed, like, this will be all right. I mean one of those depressions where I got dark, I'm not going to lie. I mean, as joking and clowning around, as easygoing as I am most of the time, I got really dark, and I have that side in me. We all have that side in us, but I let mine run kind of amok to the point of thinking maybe it would have been better if I had died in that motorcycle wreck. And then that kind of thought gets in your head, and once goofy stuff like that happens, it's hard to get rid of it. It really is. No matter how strong your faith is, or whatever it is you believe or think, you know, once you get to that point, it's just hard to get away from it. And then on top of that, I had a friend who was younger than me by 3 years, I believe. Well, I know 3 years. Was just walking through Walmart one night, and she inexplicably fell down and was dead instantly. And she was one of those kind of friends that even though you're not in daily contact, and sometimes we would go months without, you know, talking, there was such a bond there that you just knew you were still just as close as the day you met. And to have her gone, I mean, I have other friends like that. A friend of the show, buddy of mine, we went to college together, and as you can see, that was a while ago for me. Now him, he just got out, but you know, my buddy Tango and I were thick as thieves in college, and then we went our separate ways as a lot of college folks do. We didn't live in the same states or anything like that, but it just took that. You know, we recently, after 30 plus years of not seeing each other, made contact through Facebook, and which, what a thing that is. And it was like instant. We were instantly joking and clowning around at each other, and it just took that second to get that friendship back and everything. And that's the way this one was with me. We hadn't spoken in a while, not because we hadn't not spoken, and we just, you know, things were going on in our lives. She had moved and everything else, but she was one of those people that even though it wasn't an everyday thing, it was a closeness, it was a bond. She was one of the few people that could keep up with me joking, and I'm kind of a smart ass, so you have to really bring your A game to keep up with me in a joking matter. Well, she could. And then so when she passed away so unexpectedly, it really, really, it sank the depression even more. And then the drama of the accident's over, and you go in, and now every time you go to the mailbox, there's a stack of bills this high, and thousands of dollars. I mean, I only spent one night in the emergency room, about 6 hours, and the bill ended up being $14,000. And that didn't count the the return visits and all the other crap that goes along with that. Now, granted, there's medical coverage is great and all that kind of stuff, but when you see all this stuff just over and over, I got down. There's no other explanation for it. I got depressed, and I'm usually a pretty upbeat, happy-go-lucky kind of guy. With this face, you kind of have to be. And so it was kind of it was a thing. I mean, I got to a point where the idea of, I would watch sports, I would watch what was going on, and I'd want to do these shows, but the idea of sitting down in the middle of that, because I currently have a job where I work till 11 or 12 at night, and coming home and putting 3 or 4 hours of research in to put out a decent show, because I don't want to come at you guys half-baked, I don't want you to come at me halfway. So to come out and just open up the computer and do that, I just didn't have it in me. I just didn't have it in me to do it, so I haven't done it. And I was reminded of a sports talk guy who's pretty smart, not real good looking, but he's pretty smart, and he's always talking about, elimination games, back to the wall. What do you do when, it's all down and out? You got to show the world what you got and all that kind of stuff. And here we go, show me what you got, and getting on them when they fail and all, I heard that guy, and he made sense to me, because we always say that the reason we like sports so much is the lessons we learn about ourselves in sports are the things that we can translate into our everyday lives and see how we react to that. So back's against the wall, kind of figuring out where to go and what to do. So I decided, that dude's pretty smart, so let's just rub some dirt on it, get over it, and let's get this thing back on the road. So episode 109, Charlie India, Talk Sports, we're back. And hopefully we're going to stay back, because we've got big things going on right now. What you can't see behind me, or actually in my case in front of me, is for my birthday I was able to get a new camera, which I'm recording the first thing on now to see how it works. Old dog trying to learn new tricks. It might take me a while to get hold of it, but we're going to be doing all kinds of good things with this. It gives us mobility so that I don't always have to be in the luxurious Charlie India studios here. So we're going to be doing some good things. I just want to thank you guys for watching as I come back from this. We're going to get it going. We're going to be talking about sports. Now, here's something going to be different about this show. Calling this show the push show. Just pushing, getting this thing going again, and then the rest of them are going to be back to the normal. They're going to be better, than they have been, and everything else, because there's a lot going on. So this is the push show. So we've taken up about 8 minutes of your time right now, telling you how I got to this point. And now I'm going to tell you that we're going to wing the next 22 minutes. And by winging it, I mean no script, no fancy stats that I don't know unless I know them off the top of my head. And trust me, there's not as much on the top of my head as there used to be. But just going to talk. And then once we get past this one, the one that gets the juices going, gets the, hey, we're back kind of deal going, then old Charlie India will be doing shows like we used to and having some fun with it. So thank you for putting up with the break and putting up with me and this show and everything else. And I hope that you get to enjoy the next 20 minutes or so that we'll be talking about sports. While we were gone, let's go ahead and get on the sports thing. That's why we're here, right? While we were gone, the NBA Finals started and ended. Sorry about that. I have lots of notes there because I watched every game and like everything else. But Golden State won the series 4-2, pretty much what we expected. I called it Golden State 4-2. Happy for them. Like to see, wow, those guys, Klay Thompson and all these guys. It was just amazing to see them playing and getting the ball in the hoop the way these guys could shoot. My goodness, that was fantastic. But as much as I enjoyed seeing that, what I was most impressed with and most frustrated with was the other side of the ball. I mean, that as we talked about, that Cleveland lost Kevin Love in the first round of the playoffs, and then Kyrie Irving was hurt all the way through it and managed to suck up about, 3/4 of the first game before getting hurt again, and he was out for the rest of the series. So you got Golden State coming in with the MVP and you know, the Splash Brothers and all this kind of stuff, and LeBron comes in with Shumpert. Shumpert, really? You know, that's what you got? You know, and before you give me the Michael Jordan stuff, which I love Michael Jordan, but before you give me the Michael 6-6 stuff, Michael never went to the finals without Scottie and without Phil Jackson and all this kind of stuff. And LeBron got Shumpert in the finals and still found a way to not only win 2 games, but was 1 overtime session away from having this thing be 3-0 at one point. But you can't take away anything from Golden State. You got to play who's in front of you. And that's what they did, and they beat who was in front of them, and they are the champions, and good on them. Stephen Curry, you guys, it took me a second to remember his name. You couldn't tell it. I was trying to get that going. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, all those guys, you know, good on you. Congratulations. And I'm just happy for you, and I look forward to watching the team. I really became a fan of that team. I hadn't got to see them much during the year. They play on the West Coast, and you know, and I just really don't watch a lot of NBA basketball until after college basketball's on. That's what I do. But man, I'm telling you what, if they can keep this kind of style of play up, he's going to be fantastic, Stephen Curry. The thing I worry about with this is that once a team does something, every team tries to copy it. And I hope this doesn't happen. I think that Golden State was a one-time thing. I don't think this is a dynasty. I think that it was just a fantastic season by a bunch of players that played well, got hot, and did what they had to do to win. I don't think that this is going to go there. And again, I could be 100% wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. But I just don't see this being a 5-year run of championship. They're going to have a good 5-year run. They're going to have a good 7 or 8-year run if they keep these guys together. But the idea of them winning championships and things like that, I think this was a one-time thing. But my fear is that every other team in the world is going to go, well, if that's what, and Cleveland did it. The idea of that's what they do, so that's what we have to do. That's not the case. Cleveland did that. Golden State went small, and Cleveland took out Timothy Mozgov. You know, their 7'1" guy who had just scored 28 points the game before. Take him out so that they can go small, and they lose that game by just a ton. You've got to play your game. You know, as much as I'm not a Richard Sherman fan of the Seattle Seahawks, he did say one thing that does ring true. We don't change to them. We make them change to us. And the idea being, if Mozgov can score 28, you know, because he's bigger than everybody on the court, if he gives up 35 to some small guy, that's only a 7-point difference. LeBron can make up 7 points. But when you take him out, and now the guy you put in scores 8 points and still gives up the 35, now you've got a whole bigger 27-point thing to deal with, and you have to play what was there. Now, they kept taking stuff away from Cleveland, I mean, in the form of players and things like that. And players didn't show up. Mike Miller needs to just retire and should give back his money that he gets for whatever they were doing in the playoffs. And J.R. Smith and all these guys, I mean, my goodness. The team shot 39% from the field. There's a stat that I knew off the top of my head. And when they look at LeBron, well, look at how bad LeBron's production was. He only shot 39% from the field. He shot 39% from the field with everybody in the world knowing that he was going to get the ball, and he was still able to do that. You guys were shooting 39% from the field with wide open shots that LeBron got you, and still could only muster 39%. Horrible performance by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Golden State Warriors jumped on it, which is what you're supposed to do. Excuse me, when you get a team down, jump on them, beat them, and win the championship, and that's what they did. So congratulations to Golden State, you did what you were supposed to, and you know, I'm looking forward to watching them next year. I really did become a fan of these guys during this playoff run. So it kind of gives me a reason to watch them during the season next year. One thing, again, I know you keep hearing me, LeBron, but I'm telling you guys, this guy, you're watching something that is beyond phenomenal. He led both teams, okay, in scoring, rebounding, and assist. Led both teams in all 3 categories. To put that in perspective, all right, if it was a football thing, it would be like your quarterback leading the league in passing, rushing, and receiving at the same time. Normally the guy that gets a rebound throws it off, folks run down the court, and then they score. He doesn't score a whole lot. Your leading assist guy usually doesn't score a whole lot because he's the assist guy. He's passing off the ball to other people, and your scorer rarely he's there to score. He doesn't want to give the ball up. So to have one guy lead both teams in all three categories is just a tribute to how great this guy is. I wish he could do better in the finals. I wish he could get surrounded by a team or two, a couple of guys even, to be there when the playoffs come around. And he had a couple of years with Miami, and even that was work. But because the West is so much better than the East, I don't care what team LeBron goes to. I don't care what team. If LeBron came to Orlando, Orlando would be in the championships. However, eventually you have to play somebody from the West, and they're just better right now. But again, LeBron put out a great series. He turns 30 this year, or is 30. So he got to start doing some stuff. He's 2-6 in the finals. He's going to have to pick it up a little bit, but the brother is playing, and he's playing hard, and props to him. Excuse me, I got an itch in my throat. Can you believe the first time we do this thing in a month, and now I got a scratchy throat? Excuse me for just a second. Other things going on while we were gone. I mentioned it at the last episode. Finish it up now. The French Open. I didn't get to see the men's final. I did get to see the women's final. Serena Williams. What are you going to say about her? She's just fantastic. She won it again. I don't have all the stats for how many times she's won it, but what a dominating career Serena has had. And she did great. Now, in the men's final, the number 1 seed lost to the number 8 seed. And again, I'm sorry for not knowing the names and all this kind of stuff. Like I said, we're just pushing through one here. But in men's sports, and this is the topic I really wanted to get into a little bit, in men's sports, it's easier, or it's not as uncommon, let's put it that way, it's not as uncommon for a lower seed to beat a higher seed, especially in an individual sport. It's a little harder in team sports with men, but it's possible. It happens frequently. The number 4 guy beating the number 1 guy is not that big a deal. The number 6 guy beating the number 1 guy, not that big a deal in individual men's sports. What I have noticed, and this is not just something new, this is something that's been going on for years, especially in individual sports. If you get a woman athlete who, it just seems like they progress, and not in stages, they progress in leaps. I mean, back in the day, Chris Everett was the player, and then Martina Navratilova came along, and it was a whole different breed of cat. It was one of those things where for 5 years, it seemed like Martina never lost a match. Of course she did, but I'm just saying it was that kind of impression. Then Steffi Graf came along, and again, when women athletes go, it seems like the jump is so big that they just dominate the sport for a long time. And Serena came up, and Venus, her sister, started it, but Serena just took the ball and ran. And I just wonder why that is, that it's such a massive jump in players. I mean, even today, on the men's side, we're still comparing a guy who played in the 80s to LeBron James, because that's the way that goes. Compare anybody who's in a women's sport, like especially tennis, which is what you'd have to compare it to because that's what she plays. But try to compare. Name one who's done it. Billie Jean King, these things had great runs, but they never ran into something like Serena. Now, my thing is, who's going to be the next one? Because there's going to be somebody jump it up. And women are, when you get them in sports and athletic, and they want to be athletes, they can do whatever the heck they want to do. And Serena Williams is a perfect example of that. It just amazes me, though, how the sport doesn't gradually grow. I mean, it's like we're all here, and then bam, somebody jumps out, and you're done. Serena's going to win for the next 10 years. And so what it does, it kind of puts you on who's the next one, who's the next one to come along, and that's what I want to see. But it just seems so much more a gap, so much more drama. And the women's side of the thing, as far as the difference in the athletes at the time. So I'm anxious to see what the next round looks like, because Serena has just been running amok in tennis for several years now. So I'm really anxious to see where they go with that. But congratulations, Serena. I know it's probably like your millionth one that you've won, and I wish I had all the numbers in front of me. Might flash them down here. But she won it, pulled it out. Congratulations to you, and it's good to see. Another thing speaking of that, made me think, which do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy individual sports or team sports? I'm more of a team sports guy. I like basketball, football, those kind of things. However, I enjoy playing racquetball. I love it. It's just you, me, out there, going at it. but a lot of people love individual sports, tennis, boxing, where it's just one person out there doing the kind of thing. A lot of us gravitate towards team sports, but it's just interesting to see the dynamic and the what goes into being an individual athlete as opposed to a team athlete. And I've done both. Like I said, I play racquetball, I played basketball, I played football, not so much as organized, but I've just played. But I've also done, again, racquetball. But you talk about one lonely individual sport. You pick up a triathlon, and then not only pick up a triathlon, you pick up the Ironman triathlon, and that's what I did. I did an Ironman, not the Ironman in Hawaii. Here in Florida, they have a place called Claremont, where it's the hilliest place in Central Florida. And trust me, that's kind of like saying you're the best looking ugly girl at the bar. But it does have some hills in it, and it has enough hills in it that people have to walk their bikes up. Even athletes walk their bikes up some of these hills. They're not long and high like mountains, but they're just like steep, and they're like that. And I've stood at the top of the hill and watched as a person took 8 minutes of nothing but just exasperating effort to get up that hill. And I've also ridden down that same hill and gotten a bicycle up to 65 miles an hour. That's how steep these hills are. And in fact, they've actually moved the National Triathlon Center from Denver, Colorado to Claremont, Florida, because with the weather and the hills and the lakes and everything else, you can train year-round in Claremont, and they do. It is nothing to be out there, trudging along by yourself with all whatever mental thoughts you have going on while you're training, and have the German national team, just blow right by you on these bikes, So it's a wonderful thing. But the idea of truly being out there by yourself, I mean, you have every once in a while, I was out there for 15 hours. Trust me, I didn't win the thing. I barely beat the cutoff time. I think I beat it by about an hour, But you're out there all day from 7 in the morning and everything else. And every once in a while, there'll be a fan or two or a group of fans where you come around, where you transition and things like that. But you're out there by yourself, and you're alone with your thoughts, and all the training kicks in, and all the mental preparation and all that kind of stuff. So I've done both. I've done basketball, and I've done triathlon. And I love triathlon, and I love things like that, but I got to admit, I do enjoy the camaraderie, the sense of accomplishment that comes with the team sports. When you win the game, there's people to share it with and high five and all that kind of stuff. When I crossed the finish line of the Ironman, the guy handed me a T-shirt and a medal. I fell to my knees and clutched that medal like it was, a freaking crown or something, And the funny thing about that, real quick, is that medal is still to this day one of the most precious things that I own. If my house were to catch on fire, I would try to grab a bookcase that my father made, a comforter that my mother just gave me, which I have to show you guys. It's really cool. And that medal. As I was running out the door, I would grab those things. And then I went on the website the next year, and they were selling the medals. Now, when I say selling them, you had to have finished the event. But if you lost your medal, you could buy a replacement medal. So you had to prove that you finished the event and everything else. So I looked at there, and they're on sale. How much are they? $6. A $6 medal is one of the most precious things that I own. But it's not the medal itself. It's what I did to get there and what I did to accomplish the event. But I guess as a nation, I think, and maybe as a world, I don't know. We tend to go with team sports, but when you're out there, they have individual bicycle races where they're right across America. Where you're on a bicycle riding across America, and it's a race. So it's not like you ride 5 or 6 miles and stop at the Burger King. You're out there for hours and hours and hours, and for days. These guys are sleeping like 4 hours on the side of the road and everything else. And the team guys come in and they go, I don't want to be that individual dude, because the individual guys come in talking to themselves and stuff, out there. It's hilarious. But I love it. I love both the individual and the team sports, but I really like the team sports because of the camaraderie, the sense of togetherness, the idea of making a plan happen and getting that plan to work together and getting the victory is just fantastic to me. And that's what we like about sports. One of the many, many things I like about sports. The Indy 500 was pretty cool too. Real quick, I have one little story about the Indy 500 in my real life. When I was right out of high school, came down, and I was having trouble with my ankles because of all the basketball I played, and I had a broken ankle. Well, at that time, you could go to the Indy 500 and see the time trials for free. It didn't cost you anything, and you could bring food in because none of the concession stands were open or anything. It was just something they did, and it kind of turned into an event. They first started doing it just for kicks, but then it kind of turned into an event. So Wide World of Sports is an older sports show, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. That show was on then, and so they were there. Now, I had broken my ankle. I'm in a cast. So my buddy said, listen, hold the food, hold the cooler, hold the Kentucky Fried Chicken. I had a barrel of Kentucky Fried Chicken and a bunch of Cokes and stuff in the cooler. And they said, hold the cooler. We're gonna go out here. We'll get seats, and then you can just hobble along, come join us, and then we'll have our seats saved. Sounded like an idea to me. So I'm holding all this stuff. I'm about 5 deep into the crowd. Well, when they open the gates of this thing, it is like the mall on Black Friday. Oh my gosh, people start running and screaming. I can't keep up with them, so I'm getting hit. So here I am. I go home. I see myself on the Wide World of Sports. I have made TV. Yeah, chicken flying one way, colas flying the other way, and some, at that time, young, frantic kid trying to juggle all this stuff. And that's my one adventure on the Wide World of Sports. But I was on it. Say what you want. And we had a good time. But the Indy 500, I love the Indy 500. I don't get to watch a lot of Indy car racing, but I like it as much as I love NASCAR. And I do watch a lot of NASCAR. As much as I like NASCAR, I really like the Indy 500 because the idea of cruising at 235 miles an hour down that back straightaway is just, in a car that's so light that really, I believe that 2 or 3 guys can actually lift this car up, because when they have any kind of incident, accident, whatever, that car instantly gets airborne and everything because they're so aerodynamic and so light. But I love the Indy 500. The only guy I did not want to win the thing won it. Juan Pablo Montoya. Papi, why you have to go and ruin my day? I have a personal incident with Montoya, which makes me sports hate. Makes me hate him and want him to never, win another race. We're going to go a little bit over. Wow, I rambled on for a long time. We're going a little bit over because this is it's humorous to me. It's humorous to one of my brothers, so I hope watches the show. Finally, we live here, or I live here in Florida, and my brother managed to get tickets to the Daytona 500. Now, it wasn't the Sunday. It was the race where it rained on Sunday. They couldn't do it. It rained on Monday. They couldn't do it. So the people who were had to give up their tickets, so they gave my brother his tickets. He called me and said, dude, let's go. What's the thing? It's going to be at noon on Tuesday. So I had the bike then, of course. So I ride the bike over to my parents' house, and where my brother's going to meet me in DeLand. Well, about halfway there, it's raining. Catches me just enough, and I don't know if you've ever been to Florida, but if you have, when they say scattered showers, they mean scattered showers. It might be raining for 100 feet or 100 yards, and it'd be sun shining on both sides. But in the middle, all hell's breaking loose. So I ride through 3 of these things, so I'm soaked to the bone. I get there at 9 o'clock in the morning because my brother has to be there. He's king of Daytona, so he wants to show me around, so we have to be there early. I get to my parents' house at 9 for a race that doesn't start till noon. As I'm walking in the door with my tennis shoes squishing, from being wet, as I'm walking through, they announce that the rain has come, that the race has been postponed to 7 p.m. So now I have 7 hours in this soaking wet outfit to figure out what to do before the race even starts. So we go. And like I said, my brother loves this kind of stuff. He's all into it. He's showing me around. We're having a great time and all kind of stuff. And I don't know why, I just never dried the whole day. My feet are wet, my socks are wet, everything. It's just miserable. And so I kind of took away from the fun of it for me. And then, finally, the race starts. Now, I have radio on. They have. It's pretty cool. At all the NASCAR races, you can buy a radio, and my brother used to sell them, little headphones, and you can tune in to the actual race car driver's radio and hear him talking to his crew chief during the race. I wish they could find a way to do that with football or something, but they can't give away too many secrets. So I'm a Jimmy Johnson guy. I've got Jimmy's radio turned. I'm listening to my boy as he's cruising around the warm-up. He's cruising around the warm-up. Look at all the fans. He says, I really can't believe there's this many fans here on a Tuesday. He says, these people are great. And they delayed he was just really just in awe. And and all of a sudden you hear Chad Knaus go, Jimmy, they told me they've adjusted something or other. Says, you need to just go ahead and ignore that red blinking light. And Jimmy goes, what light? And Chad goes, don't worry about it. So evidently they're not aware of things as we are. So they're cruising around. Whack, here we go. First lap. I hear Jimmy go, oh no! And then all of a sudden you see a yellow flag come up. Jimmy, the guy I have come to see, has crashed on the very first lap. 53 seconds in to the Daytona 500. My guy is out. Great. So now what am I going to do? Well, we're going to sit there and watch the race. So blah, blah, here we go. I'm wet. And now it's dark. I'm not happy. My boy's gone. You know, and all this kind of stuff. So I tuned it over to Tony Stewart. Now, if you ever want to have fun, get a radio, go to a race, tune it on to Tony Stewart, because that dude is a dope. What a hilarious guy he is. So they're cruising along. The race is going. There's a yellow flag. Okay, let's go. Let's get them going. All of a sudden, you look over, because we were going on the back straightaway, and you look over, and I mean literally, it looks like a nuclear bomb has gone off. And you look up to the big screens, all that kind of stuff. Juan Pablo Montoya has come out of the pits, and one of his tires wasn't put on tight enough, and with nobody around him and no apparent reason to have any problem, his tire comes off. He crashes into the jet blower, which is out there trying to dry the track. This is a jet engine, okay, with jet fuel in it that evidently was full. He hits it, that thing blows up, and the track is on fire. Which means that we have to sit there wet, mad, disgusted for another 2.5 hours because Juan Pablo Montoya can't drive a car. Thank you. However, funny side note to that, I told you about Tony Stewart. As the cars are pulling around, they stop, and Tony goes, wow, says, I'm pretty close to this thing. I got a really good view. and I don't know who his guy is, but he said, or crew chief said, hey, Tony, says, yeah, look to your left. You turn left. Well, they've got this thing on a screen that's bigger than 5 movie screens, and Tony's sitting right beside it. Tony goes, oh, yeah, that's pretty good, too. So anyway, Juan Pablo Montoya wins the Indy 500. The one guy I did not want to win, of course, so naturally, he has no choice but to win. That's the Charlie India magic, for you. And that's pretty much what we're going to do this week. It's 32 minutes here. Thank you for putting up with me rambling. A non-scripted show. That's not going to happen again, I don't think. And it's good to be back, and I hope that you guys stick with me for a while. And we're going to be doing some new things. I'll give you a teaser. Next week, I'll be telling you about a new show that we'll be doing, which I think you're really, really going to enjoy, probably even more than this one, which how could you do that? But stick with me. It's going to be good, and we're going to be doing some great things, and especially with football season coming up in September, we're going to be taking the show on the road. There's a whole lot going on, but I'm going to tease you with I've got a new show topic for you next week, and I don't mean it's a whole new show, and it's something that I think everybody's going to enjoy. Thank you again for watching the show, and I'm back. And this is Charlie India saying, get out there and play.